Welcome to APC Solution. Today we're going to take this 1200 P2 EVGA power supply and we're going to install it in that. Taking out the existing 850 watt for another video you're going to see, which is going to be a bunch of used parts jammed together into a gaming rig. But today we got this off eBay, really good sale. So first thing we're going to do is use our thermal tape power supply checker to check the power supply and make sure it's good before we go through all the work of unwiring everything and wiring it back up. So let's break into it. Okay, so we've got the P2 power supply here. What do they have? We've got a little bag for goodies. Most importantly, our power supply cable. We have one of 6 VGA cables, or power cables. What else we got? They're all kind of tangled up in here. Another VGA. Hopefully all the parts are in here. We've got a VGA. Another VGA. VGA. So let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 VGAs we're up to. There should be one more floating around in here someplace. Nope, there's our CPU power one. Another VGA. Then we get to ones that clearly the previous owner didn't use. That's a SATA. Oh, this one looks like it got used. SATA drive. SATA cable. Ah, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. And the motherboard one. That's very critical. What do we get here? Extra peripheral one. And some other odds and ends. Looks like some Velcro strips. Velcro ties that must have came with it and the previous owner didn't use. Screws for it. Wonderful silicone. Kids, don't eat this. It is not a sugar packet. Then we've got in here, we got the wonderful book. And, ooh, this is kind of heavy. Let's get that out of the way now. This is the power supply we will be installing. Nice fancy little bag. I'm guessing that other bag was to store pieces in. So here we go. EVGA 1200 Supernova 80 plus platinum edition. You can see all those wonderful connectors. So to test it, we're going to be hooking up the motherboard power. We're going to hook up a CPU power. This one has 2, it looks like, 1 and 2. And we're going to go through and check all of these VGA ports. So first we're going to make sure we got one CPU, 1 VGA, motherboard good, and we'll go through and check our cables, and then we'll go through with a good cable once it's confirmed and check all the VGA ports, both CPUs, as well as the motherboard and some of the SATAs. So with everything hooked up, you can see we've got PCI is hooked in, CPU is hooked in, and the 24-pin connector is hooked up right there. We've got this nice blue screen. I hit the toggle button, and you can see how everything is on it. We've got 5 volts, 12, 3.2, 3.3, okay, 50, everything's good. We got the blue, and then we can scroll through and just double check each one of the things that's hooked up. So there's our PCI, there's our CPU, and then we'll drop back out to the end. And that's pretty much how it works. Now, this power supply is in good shape, which is why we're not having any issues. But if you were having an issue, you would see some type of red and fails. I just caused that to happen because I turned off the power supply. Our power tester here plugged in. We have our power on, and eco mode is off. See, we got a nice blue screen here. Blues, oh, nope. helps if you have the power supply on. So, we've got a nice blue screen here. It shows that our motherboard power is attached, our PCI or VGA or graphics card cord is plugged in, and our CPU. So I'm going to hit this little button here, and it's going to move on. It's checking all of our voltages. We're still blue, which is good. Fan kicked on, which is a good sign. And we'll scroll through. Let's see what else we got. 12 volts on the PCI, that's good. 12 on the CPU, that's good. We're still blue. And it powered off when I got to the end. So that's checked. Now we're going to go through and do the next ones. Power off the power supply. Yeah, that's what the fail looks like. Because I turned off the power without turning off that. We'll go ahead, since we know this cord works. We'll go through with the VGA. And you know what? Since I'm here moving stuff around, I'm going to go ahead and move the CPU as well to make sure that that one's good. Put my power supply back on. And we'll go through and check. So we got the whole thing. We're still blue. And we're going to rotate it to the PCI, which is good. CPU, which is good. And we're off. So now that we've got the power supply all checked out, we've got cords ready to go. We're going to crack open that rig, pull out the old one, and put this puppy in it. So we've got our computer all unplugged. We could theoretically reuse some of the cords inside. However, because we're going to an EVGA from an Antec power supply, we're not going to do that. A lot of power supply manufacturers actually will void the warranty if you don't use the cables that they provide. So, just a heads up for those that are interested in customizing your rigs with some special colors or things like that. Check your manufacturer's warranty and make sure that what you're doing isn't going to breach that, just in case you have any issues later on down the road. So let's get this open and start disconnecting everything. So this is the old one, the 850 Intech. It's a little bit shorter, and this case actually has a bar inside of it for that back end to balance on. So since the EVGA one is longer, we're going to have to make sure we slide that back, and hopefully we don't run out of space because we also have some fans in here. Already ran into one issue. You guys didn't catch on to it. This fan was actually blocking me from disconnecting my CPU connectors. So I had to dismount the fan just to get my fingers back there and get to the catches, because otherwise I couldn't get the plug out. So let's continue. Now that everything's hooked up, we're going to plug it back in, power on, and hopefully we're good to go. And leaving. So now we've got the computer all hooked back up, turned on no problem, we're ready to rock and roll. So that's how you go about installing a new power supply. This rig has a lot more space to work with. If you're doing anything with a smaller one that's off the counter, a Dell, HP, things like that, there's a lot less space to work with in those. So always make sure you look at your existing power supply, take some measurements, and then do the same thing with the new power supply you plan on putting in before you go ahead and purchase.
If you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to be notified about future videos, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching.